Hey friends, welcome back to Food Prep Guide. We all know prices related to our energy and food supplies have been a little crazy lately, and while we can't control what happens around the world, we can control what happens at home. So today I'm sharing 7 practical ways to inflation-proof your food supply this year. They all work together. By the end of this video, you're going to see how smart stocking, growing, preserving, and a few just practical habits in the kitchen can seriously cut your grocery bill and give you a pantry that you can count on no matter what prices do in the future. Let's get right to it with tip number 1. Is to grow high yield, high cost vegetables. Now don't worry, not all of these are going to be gardening tips, but truly the best way to fight against rising food prices is to grow the things that hurt your wallet the most at the store. I'm not talking about growing everything, but just being strategic. Look at what you spend the most on when you're buying produce and start there. For many people, that list is going to include tomatoes, peppers, salad greens, and fresh herbs. A single bunch of fresh basil at the grocery store can run you $3 to $4, and half of it wilts before you get a chance to use it. But a packet of basil seeds cost about the same, and one plant will give you more basil than you can use all summer long. Same story with tomatoes. A pound of good tomatoes at the store, especially heirloom, is going to be kind of pricey, but one healthy tomato plant in your backyard can yield 10, 20, sometimes 30 pounds of fruit from a single plant in a good season. Peppers are another good one. Bell peppers in particular are consistently one of the priciest items in the produce section. Grow a few plants and you'll have more than enough for fresh eating and preserving. So if you haven't started a garden yet, or you're trying to figure out where to put your energy this season, start with the crops that give you the most financial return. High cost at the store plus high yield in the garden equals the biggest impact on your grocery bill. The second strategy is bulk buying, but there's a right and a wrong way to do it. The right way is buying staples when they're at their lowest price per ounce and then storing them properly so that nothing goes to waste. The wrong way is buying in bulk, storing it in its original packaging out of sight somewhere, and finding it stale or buggy 6 months later. So let's talk storage. For larger quantities of dry goods, things like flour, rice, oats, dried beans, and sugar, 5-gallon buckets with Gamma Seal lids are a fantastic option. Pasta works great too. Gamma Seal lids are the kind that have a ring that you snap on permanently and then a screw-on centerpiece so you can get in and out of the bucket easily without fighting it every time. It also keeps moisture and pests out. It's a lot more airtight, and they provide a sturdy surface for stacking, which saves space in your storage. For smaller quantities or for things you're rotating through more frequently, vacuum-sealed mason jars are the way to go. A jar sealer attachment for your vacuum sealer or just a handheld standalone device pulls the air out of the jar and extends the shelf life dramatically. We're talking years longer than just screwing on a lid and calling it done. The key mindset with bulk buying is this: you're not stockpiling out of fear, you're shopping from your own pantry. You buy more when prices are low, and then you shop your shelves instead of going to the store. Over time, this habit alone can make a real dent in your spending. If you'd like help building your food storage and knowing what to buy, we put together a free 1-year food storage plan that breaks down a year's worth of shelf-stable food week by week so you can grocery shop normally with just a few extra items added each week. It will be linked in the description box, or you can comment food storage and I'll reply to your comment directly with the link to access it. Okay, tip number 3 is canning in season. Remember those high-yield vegetables we talked about in tip 1? I recommend growing or sourcing more than you need for fresh eating and then canning the overage. If it can't be canned, flash freezing works too, or dehydrating. This is one of the most impactful things you can do for your pantry, and here's why. Fall and winter are when produce prices are at their highest. If you spent the summer growing or farmer's market shopping, you can pull a jar of home canned salsa or crushed tomatoes off your shelf in January instead of paying peak prices at the store. Canning doesn't have to be intimidating. Water bath canning is very approachable for high-acid foods like tomatoes, salsas, jams, and pickles. If you want to grow or can low-acid foods like green beans or corn, you'll need a pressure canner, but even that isn't as scary as it sounds, I promise. And the savings add up so fast. A flat of tomatoes from your garden costs you little more than your time. A comparable amount of canned tomatoes from the store, especially if you're going to be buying organic, adds up quickly. Multiply that across an entire growing season, and you're looking at significant savings. If canning is new to you, just start simple. A basic tomato sauce or salsa is a great first project. I'll link some of our recipes in the description box as well as our Canning 101 Masterclass. Tip number 4 is to meal prep in jars and essentially turn your pantry into a convenience store. Now, this one is near and dear to me, so bear with me here because I feel like sometimes my excitement gets in the way of clearly explaining the thought behind something. So, a lot of people swear by freezer cooking as their main meal prep strategy. Cook in big batches, freeze it in portions, pull it out as needed. And I totally get the appeal, but for our family, I can't rely too heavily on the freezer because we deal with frequent power outages. Losing a freezer full of food is a real risk. It's already happened multiple times over the years, and I've learned not to put all my eggs in that freezer basket. So instead, I meal prep in jars. Dry pantry mixes that live on my shelf, completely stable, no electricity required to keep them fresh, and ready to go whenever I need them. So think of these as meal or side dish starters. I'm talking about things like a master baking mix that I can turn into pancakes, waffle, or biscuits by just adding a few wet ingredients, or a homemade dry Italian dressing mix that I can just shake up with a little bit of oil and vinegar when I need dressing, or homemade ramen noodle jars with freeze-dried vegetables built right in so I can just add boiling water for a quick lunch. I prep a bunch of jars at one time, usually I spend a whole afternoon worth of work on it, and then I have months of easy meals and side dishes on my pantry shelf. And because I have all of this on hand, I'm not reaching for overpriced convenient foods at the store, so it generally reduces impulse buying too. If you want to go deeper on this, we have a cookbook called the Mix and Jars Cookbook. I'll have the link in the description box below, or comment cookbook, and I'll send you the link directly to check it out. It's packed with recipes for stocking your shelves with homemade convenience foods made from real ingredients. So if this tip resonates with you, I think check it out. I think you'll really love the book. Okay, tip number 5 is to save your seeds. Now, this one is simple, so simple that it's easy to overlook. Every year, a lot of gardeners spend money on new seed packets. And if you're buying heirloom or open pollinated varieties, which I highly recommend, those packets aren't cheap. But if you're growing heirloom vegetables, you can save seeds from your best plants at the end of the season and replant them next year for free. Tomatoes, peppers, beans, squash, cucumbers, all of these are great candidates for seed saving. And the process is really simple. You just let your best fruits fully mature on the plant, harvest the seeds by taking them out, drying them out completely, and then store them somewhere cool and dark. A small envelope or a little glass jar works perfectly. Besides saving money, over time, something really cool happens. The seeds you save start adapting to your specific climate, your soil, your conditions. So they become better performers in your garden with every generation. That is so cool to me. And also, beyond the money savings, there's something really grounding about closing that loop. Growing your food, saving the seeds, growing it again. It's one of the most self-sufficient habits that you can build as a gardener. Tip number 6 is zero waste cooking habits. Now, this one doesn't cost anything. It's purely about shifting a habit, but it adds up to more than you think. The average household throws away food every week. Vegetable scraps, wilting herbs, the last bit of something that didn't get used in time, and every single one of those things represents money that you've already spent that you're now throwing in the trash. Happens to the best of us. But here are a few habits that make a real difference that I have seen. Scrap stock. Keep a bag or container in your freezer for vegetable scraps. These can be onion skins, though not the root end, carrot peels, celery leaves, herb stems. When the bag is full, simmer it all in a pot of water for a couple hours. You can can it up or freeze it, and you have homemade vegetable stock. Also, you can regrow from the roots of certain plants. Green onions and romaine lettuce are the easiest examples that I can think of. You stick the root end in a glass of water on your windowsill, and they'll regrow in a matter of days. They won't be like huge, but definitely enough to toss into a lunch or a dinner. I was about to say meal and dinner. It came out deal. But celery and leeks work very similarly. It's not going to replace your grocery run, but it's just a fun habit that stretches what you already have. And last but not least, compost. Whatever you truly can't use, that goes into a compost pile, not the trash can. And the compost goes back into your garden, reducing how much you have to buy the following spring. And typically compost and or soil is the most expensive product that gardeners buy. So even your food scraps can be used to feed next year's vegetables. Okay, tip number 7 is to grow calorie-dense crops. I think this gets underrated in the gardening world where a lot of the focus is on salad greens and pretty tomatoes. Those are great. I grow lots of them. But if you really want your garden to work hard for your food budget, grow crops that fill people up. I'm talking about potatoes, dried beans, winter squash. These are calorie-dense, filling foods that store well without any special equipment. No canning required, no freezer required. They can just, like potatoes, can just sit in a cool, dark spot for months. Winter squash like butternut or acorn, or my personal favorite, zucchini rampicante, can last 6 months or more in proper storage. Dried beans store also for years in a sealed container, even just a 5-gallon bucket. And when you look at the yield you get per square foot of garden space, these crops are incredibly efficient. A 10-foot row of bush beans can give you pounds of dried beans that will feed your family many times over. A small potato patch, or even buckets or grow bags, produces a surprising amount of food in a relatively compact space. These are the crops that historically fed families through really hard winters. They're not glamorous, but they are practical. And that's exactly what we're going for when we talk about inflation proofing our food supplies. So there you have it, 7 ways to take back some control over your food costs this year. Grow the expensive stuff, buy in bulk and store it right, preserve your garden overage while prices and seasonality is low. Don't forget to save your seeds, prep meals and mixes in jars so convenience doesn't have to cost you. Waste less with smart habits, and grow food that will actually fill you up. None of these tips require a huge budget or a ton of experience. You can start with one and build from there. And the great thing is, each one you add makes the others more powerful. They really do all work together. If the meal prep in jars idea caught your attention, don't forget to check out the Mix in Jars cookbook link below. And also don't forget to grab your free 1-year food storage plan. That's all for today, and we'll see you next time. Bye.